Hello, I'm Bradley Hare. Welcome to my pitch for a film I've created and written called The Code Blue Protocol. This film, this film is a body horror sci-fi film. It follows two protagonists. It's kind of like a multi-strand linear story. It's quite indie, quite small, quite independent in a way. But it's also the way it's structured is quite mainstream. It's quite linear. Um, Onto the plot. Oh no, sorry. Um, the concept for this story follows AI as it is infecting humans and turning them into its host to control them. And it's kind of like a sci-fi, like I said, it's sci-fi with pretty much zombies, robotic zombies, AI. Um, and it's like an apocalypse, and it follows two survivors, the nurse and a scientist, as they're trying to stop AI and survive this apocalyptic AI world. Now I'm going to explain the plot using a total of 5 stages. Equilibrium. At the beginning, it follows the nurse as she has just had to announce that one of her first patients, has passed away. It's quite a loss for her. She's distraught. And going back home, she is struggling to pay for rent, the cost of living. And on the TV, she sees her boyfriend, the scientist, a disgraced scientist, in fact, actually, and he is explaining the harm and the issues with AI and how there's possibly going to be quite a big issue with it coming to humanity. Now onto the disruption stage 2. Disruption, in fact, starts with the scientist calling his girlfriend, the nurse, and telling her to leave the city immediately because there is something happening. He's just got word of it, he just knows something's going to happen, something right, and he tells her to meet her at this cabin he used to go to when they were younger. And that is what she does. She gets in the car and she goes. Stage 3, recognition. Now, this is where we first start to see something going on with the AI. Now, in the car, she's driving and oof, chaos, flames, fire. Everything is erupting and it's just panic, people running, people screaming. She's in the car, she's driving, she's going. And we first see the AI infecting people. Now, how does it affect people? What it does, it uses some sort of injection and it infects the host with that injection and infects them with this AI little microbe. And what the microbe does, it carries up to the brain and it goes into the brain and it latches onto them and controls them from there. The whole person is completely conscious. The whole body horror element comes in when that injection kind of latches itself onto the spine and it controls them from the spine to control their body. And it's very gruesome, there's blood everywhere. It is messy, it is not nice. And so that's the first time we see that. And unfortunately, the nurse, she never makes it out of the city. She's trapped, but she escapes, just barely. Now on to stage 4, repair. Now this is months later after that event. The nurse is on the lookout for trying to find her boyfriend still, the scientist, but also trying to survive this apocalypse. She's been here for, like I said, months, so she kind of knows the ins and outs of how to escape them. She's quite street. She knows what she's doing. She knows how to survive. And she's sending out distress signals through the radio, and then we cut to the scientist. The scientist he believes she has unfortunately been killed or infected with this parasitic AI thing, and he is trying to create a device to stop AI and just once and for all with this new device. And that's his whole mission, collecting these parts. He's going from place to place, trying to get them while she's trying to find him. And it's kind of like I said, multi-strand. So we're going to go from the nurse to the scientist. And as the story progresses, we slowly bring the stories closer together and the interlink towards the end where they finally meet. And it's quite nice, it's quite a happy moment. And they've got to get this final piece to the puzzle to get the device done. And when they do, they finally get that final piece, the most dangerous mission yet to get it, the scientist dies. And the nurse, linking back to the beginning, over the loss of her patient, she is distraught, she is saddened, but she has a goal. She is going to take the AI device and she stops it. She stops the AI, she frees everyone, and everyone is happy. and that's how the story ends. She destroys the device. Now, I want to add that if we were, obviously this is early draft, and it's subject to change likely, we could bring in a moral dilemma for the nurse, where she has this power, and what if maybe she can use that power to control the AI for herself? Because usually people in power, they have that power for themselves and their own gains. What if maybe we change the story to where it was actually humans behind this entire organization? What if maybe humans have been actually commanding AI to take control of people? We have some interesting subject matters we can delve right into. And I think this story is perfect for that because AI is a really large topic right now. It's very, very relevant. It's got lots of, I don't want to say controversy. It's quite relevant. And also, so the body horror aspect. Now, this is what will take a lot of production costs, trying to create these really creepy looking AI enhanced people who unfortunately cannot control what they're doing. It would probably look something somewhat like this. I just got these off the internet, but turn it down a little bit, something more like this. This is from, say, the injury. The AI would actually enhance the person's abilities. Say, if they were to get injured, it would fix them with robotic parts to make them more look like this. That's how that would function. And the body horror aspect, well, we can really go right into that. We can really slashes, gushes, every sort of thing. Because the AI does not care about the person. It is just trying to get everyone. So it's harming itself. Now, casting choices. We've got two choices, two for the scientist, two for the nurse. For the nurse, we've been looking at Maddie Hill, who is 34 years old. She's most commonly known for playing Nancy Carter in EastEnders and Casualty. She played a paramedic, and she's been quite off the radar recently, but she's still playing little small roles. And she has shown to play do lots of drama, and she can do emotion. She's quite good with how she acts in quite dramatic sequences. Another is Chloe Grace Moretz. She's 27 years old. She has most recently been in a TV show called The Peripheral, which is a sci-fi, I believe, and she's got lots of big film. She's got quite big filmography, I'd say, and she's quite relevant to today. People have an idea of her, so that's quite good too. Casting choices for the scientist, we have Jack Rayner. He's 32 years old. He's been known to play, he was in Midsommar, and he was also been in Transformers: Age of Extinction. But he's quite a relatively somewhat known actor, not too big, not too small. And on the right here we have Hopper Penn, 30 years old. He's not been in many acting roles. He's just kind of slowly just coming up, and he's been in a movie called The Devil's Peak. So that's quite interesting. We're kind of seeing from age range between sort of late 20s to early 30s for these characters. Next slide. Production. Now, I would say the budget, it sounds like a really big story to tell with quite a big budget, but it really isn't. If you've ever seen something, say, 28 Days Later or Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. They usually have a budget of $5 million for 28 Days Later, and it grossed £84 million. That is a lot. That's a lot. And for Shaun of the Dead, that had a budget of $4 million, and it grossed worldwide £38 million. So I want to prove that this can be done on a budget of probably say 5 to 10 million. I think lots of the budget would actually go into designing the costumes for the infected host, like I said earlier. And from the locations, we can find locations such as in maybe London or maybe Bradford even, because I see there's lots of nice little building places there. As long as it's in a city, and then towards the end of the film, we can move towards smaller film locations that are set in the forest. Not forest, rural locations. But yes, I want to show you why this is relevant to today. like I said earlier, AI, but also it kind of has a theme of genocide. You know, AI working against these humans, and it's just constant war, and it's the humans trying to get back against the AI. So that's quite relevant today because you've got the wars in Israel, and just wars in general. It's quite a human thing that occurs, unfortunately, and it can be shown in this as a little sub-theme. Another one is, unfortunately, slavery. Slavery is still quite a relevant thing today. It's especially modern slavery. I think there's like an estimated 50 million people in the world that still are in modern slavery, which is estimated to be 1 in 150 million people worldwide. And the slavery would fit into this because obviously the AI is taking over the humans and they don't have any control, but they're still conscious. And it's just it's them against. They can't control themselves, unfortunately. They have no rights. It's power, it's dominance of the AI over these unfortunate hosts. And obviously the cost of living will be how it's also relevant with the nurse in the beginning, how she's struggling to pay for rent and bills. And that is why I think it's relevant. And I think that's why you should consider my story, the Code Blue Protocol. I think it would be quite interesting to tell nowadays. I think people would enjoy it for what it is. I think quite a small production. I think people will like that. I think, especially British cinema. I think all the drama and all the horror. I think a lot of people nowadays will enjoy that, especially British people. Thank you.
Ah.
Would you consider this?
I've got some questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Oh, should I take the timer? Sorry.
Oh, you can, do you? Turn it off.
Oh, it's on.
Standard now, yeah. Let me find my questions. So you seem to really be quite keen on pushing the idea of body horror. Why?
Body horror, because I think to bring in the whole aspect of why AI is dangerous, we need to really showcase its capabilities. And you could just show that with like a few gacha wounds, or you could show that with like, well, already we're showing that with its idea of slavery, how it's taking over these people. But the idea that it's harming this person against their will, that is its own horror, and that is why I think body horror really enhanced that, because it's really showing, God, this is taking itself really far. And I think that's why body horror is really important to it. It's not just like just throwing it in there, it's got its own reason.
Okay. I had the question of where does the metal come from, but then you did answer that later on with the idea that it's sort of making changes. So am I right in saying then when it first takes over the body, before there's any harm made to the body, or like moments after, they still just look normal? They look like people?
Yeah, they look normal until after, say, like they get wounded, so like cuts and intestines are out or something. It will force them to like rebuild themselves with robotic parts. And
why would they be wounded?
Say if they were to be chasing someone to infect the other hosts, because like the zombies, they would get harmed because it doesn't care about the host. It's just trying to infect more people, like a parasite. And so that's why they would get harmed. It would, or let's say if a survivor was to like slash them, they've got a gash wound, they've got to fix that. Or first infect the other person.
Okay. I still feel confused about how it's all going to start, because I suppose if someone that looked human came up to me with a syringe, I wouldn't know, and they would just be able to syringe me because I'd have no way of knowing that they were a threat.
That's a good point, actually. I suppose obviously it's subject to change. We can always change things in the early draft. Say if maybe they release some kind of toxin through vomit, even, or we can get creative with this. We can get maybe it's exposure of blood. Maybe that's how they did it. They cut the person. They use the infected host blood to transfuse into that. Could be anything. We could change that. It's just at the moment it's early draft is what I'm presenting.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a head of AI? How does AI become a character in this? Is there someone that we follow? Is there a main one? Is there like a brain behind the AI?
I'll say that's a subject to change. Like I said at the end, there could be a whole organization who are using the AI to control people. So maybe that's how we bring that into this. Truthfully, at the moment, I don't have that answer for that. But if we were to develop this idea truthfully, we could really go into why the AI is, or who's the head of it.
Okay. Who is your audience? You've sort of skirted around it, but who do you feel like your audience would be for this
I
film?
would say 20-year-olds, late 30s, in that kind of audience. It's an 18, so anyone 18 above. I would say definitely not, just below 40. So between the age gap of 18 to 40, I'd say. Got me. I think there's quite recently you've seen lots of film, horror fanatics, so I think it's quite aimed towards them, especially on such a low budget. I think it is possible to aim towards them, especially there's lots of recent horror films like Talk to Me and, like I said, Midsummer. They're low budget and they still make quite good gross back.
My last question, why have you decided to do AI? Why AI? What are your personal feelings on that?
My personal feelings.
Well, you've chosen to write a story on it.
Yeah,
It might not be personal.
It's relevant. You don't see it in the news every day, but you do, because AI is the talk of everything. It's advancing. It's getting more and more popular. This is why I'm showing it as an issue, because it can be beneficial. It can be beneficial in some aspects. It's also an issue because it's also showing when it's in the wrong hands, it can be quite harmful. It can be quite dangerous, and so that's why I like if we maybe to advance the story into having this organization is controlling the AI. Maybe perhaps then we show that's the power, that's the harm of humanity. That's why humans against humans and there's war. I think that's why AI is quite relevant to this, and why I want to tell it, because I want to bring some sort of, I want to say moral to it, just some sort of idea of what it can really do in the wrong hands.
Okay, that's my question.
Thank you.